freaking pull-ups. It said, screw it. I'm doing pull-ups.
Let's do it.
What's up, Stu?
Hello, Jim.
Sometimes you just got to get mad and do it. And just be like, screw it. Let's do it. I'm mad.
Get it done.
And get it done. So I did pull-ups yesterday for the first time.
I have to say, Jim, before we start, your social media game is kicking in.
Really?
Right now, I have to say,
you
have hooked me with some of those posts you have.
My better hooking. So you're saying I'm a better hooker than I was 6 months ago, or
much
just
better,
a more consistent
much better.
hooker?
You've been practicing.
You see me out on the stroll, and you're like, man, there goes Jim Edwards, one of the preeminent hookers in my life. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been working hard. We've been doing some cool stuff. Got a different strategy that we're using that we actually came up with ourselves. You know, that whole strategic content thing that we've been talking about.
Love it.
It's working really well. So, I'll have a course on that at some point. You named it. I'll sell it.
Yeah, I love it. I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing kind of the same thing with some of the articles I've been writing.
Absolutely.
Right? I'll do a podcast, and then I'll write 3 articles that come from that podcast.
There you go.
And which has been really cool. And then I tag, and then I tag put the podcast into those articles as well.
Absolutely.
For more information, check it out. Embed it right into the thing. So yeah, it's been really good.
What's up, Peter? What's up, C-Ray? What's up, Vicky? Everybody who's here, say howdy. Yes, I'm looking forward to class today too. I spent basically all day yesterday getting ready for that master class. We're doing the sales story master class this afternoon. I think Susan told me we got over 1,300 people signed up for that. So it's going to be pretty cool. And I'm going to be sharing as much as I can. We're probably going to go a little long, but that's okay. And of course, I'll be making a special offer. Because what's up, Craig? So, Stu,
yes, sir.
What are we talking about today on the Stu and Jim show?
Well, we are talking about stories, but a special kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
A preview story.
Okay.
So a preview story meaning you have something coming up that you want to tell people about, maybe an upcoming sales, service, product, event.
Is this like a movie trailer, like for Top Gun?
Perhaps that could be a great preview story. But we're just going to discuss, some interesting ways to introduce things that you want introduced by using a preview story.
Okay. So what's up, Anna? You're going to be a star this afternoon, Anna. So make sure you show up to the Sales Story Masterclass, because you're going to see somebody that looks like you on the class. So give me an example, Stu, of how you have used a preview story. Can you give me one?
Oh, I'll give you several.
Okay.
I usually, in the fitness world, there's always these awkward starting periods. Like everyone gets started fitness around New Year's, right? Everyone. So I play around with some of these traditional ones. Like, for instance, right now, I am creating a spring training preview story.
Okay.
Right? Because we are actually 25 days away from springtime.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Yes. No, just call me Stu.
No, if I was going to be thank you, Jesus. No. Thank you, original Jesus. I need some spring.
Yes. So we're 25 days away from spring. So my next 25 days will have this little countdown to spring on how all the different things that you can do now to be ready for spring.
Okay.
Right. And
how does story filter in with that?
Just stand by.
Sorry. part.
And I'm writing a book that is almost done. Fiverr will deliver it probably today or tomorrow, the cover.
Okay.
And it is called, yes,
Spring
Spring
Fitness
Training.
Stories?
Spring Training.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Spring Training.
Well, let me tell you something right now. With all the BS going on with MLB and the spring training, there might be people doing research for spring training that just might find your book.
You know what? That's what kind of gave me the idea. Because I look for trendy things, Jim.
I know you do.
You know, I look for trendy things.
You're a trendy guy.
Yeah. So I look for the trends. You know, I try to stay on front of the curve there. I'm trying to stay hip with the young kids.
I know. Okay, so what kind of stories are you telling in this 25-day countdown thing? And in the process, you're going to be promoting your book, which is smart.
Yes. So it's a variety of stories. Everything from the getting started struggle.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
And of course, you have to have a cool hook. And I've recently been playing around with a new hook. I won't do it too much, but I think I will definitely use it a couple times in this one. And the first word is just beware.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Beware hook. I've never done it before until this last week. I think I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah. It was good. I told you it was good too.
Yeah. But it was nothing really it was the hook, but the things that I were bewaring people or why people don't make it through spec ops training. Nothing revolutionary there. It's just a piece that had a really good hook on it. So the struggle story.
Can I make one?
Yeah, go ahead. Progress story was next.
Okay, progress story. Okay, so go ahead and tell me what's the progress story. Give me an example like progress story.
I mean, it can go from everything from getting your first pull up to losing 25 pounds. 20 pounds.
That's my story. That's my story. I'm like the hibernating bear. I see this and I'm like, crap, I got to drop. You can't drop a pound a day, but I got 25 pounds I got to lose before Memorial Day.
Hibernating bear. I'll add that. In fact, I just saw, you know what? I just saw a very trendy 500-pound bear was in social media recently.
What was
he needs to get on some spring training. He's literally a 500-pound bear.
So he's a fat bear.
Yes. So anyway,
So I want y'all to notice something here. Stu's talking about fitness, but look at these first two stories that he's talking about to promote. The getting started struggle story. Remember Angie, the struggle bus? I had a t-shirt. I'm having a t-shirt made that says the struggle bus on it. Progress story. No matter what you do, the people that follow you, the people that can buy from you, they have a getting started story. There's some people going to respond to that getting started story. There's some people going to respond to the progress story. What are other stories?
I could make these, specific to different elements of my audience too. So I can have the military story, preparing for military, preparing for law enforcement, firefighter, be the old guy, just like you said, the hibernating bear needs to get back out and ready for spring.
What about, for one, like your stuff, the achievement story? Tell the story about the kid who gets his X-ray contract, the kid who gets his SEAL contract. That's going to be a big one. The back on track story.
Testimonial story.
Yeah, the customer story, which could be testimonial or case study. I like this one a lot, the back on track story. So I'm in Stu's PT club, which if any of you are like want to get in really good shape, you need to join Stu's PT club. Stu changed my life massively with fitness and stuff. And one of the things, if you're in his highest level, which you should be, he'll send you a text every morning to gently remind you that you need to have your butt out in the street. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like, hey, I'm out here in 32-degree weather wearing a face covering because I'm in Maryland where your snot turns to icicles in 30 seconds. And so there's no reason that you can't be exercising too. So, but this back on track story, sometimes that's all you need is to have that story to put you, and again, with anything that you're doing for the JMT folks, for leadership, for, just everything back on track. Also, like with Carlin, with the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, traveling again.
Right, traveling again and stuff. Absolutely. Customer stories. What other kind of stories can you tell, Stu, with what you're doing with your guys?
I don't know. I'm kind of drawing a blank after that.
What about overcoming a plateau or breaking a barrier story?
There you go.
I mean, I remember how happy I was breaking a barrier, reaching lofty goal.
Hey, another one is a preparing story. Preparing for a race, preparing for a Go Ruck event.
Laying groundwork story. I like that. What else? In the comments, what other kind of stories could you tell or could Stu say? What you mean? These are great.
Oh, these are great. I know. I had like 3 ready to go, and you're like blowing me up.
We should have spent more than 30 seconds in pre-show prep. What else? Somebody else. Leslie said, love these story ideas for the career niche I coach in. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Getting started looking for a new job. A story about somebody who's in the middle of what they're trying to do, an achievement, getting that back on track. Customer, breaking a barrier, reaching a lofty goal, preparing, laying the groundwork. These are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to start doing the preparing, laying the groundwork story to do the Murph on Memorial Day.
That's always a good one too.
Yeah, that's kind of because right now I couldn't do it. Or let's just say it would be ugly. I could do it, but it would be ugly, and it'd be TRX, not pull-ups.
Yeah.
Though I did shock myself yesterday. I ran 2 miles in a row, like not at old person wogging embarrassment time. It wasn't anything to write home about, but I actually ran 2 miles nonstop. I was happy.
Mobility restored. I'm all into that one.
Exactly. Okay, so what else do you want to share kind of about your 25-day countdown? So let me ask you, every one of these stories will end with a stealth close or a hard close to your new book, yes?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, dude, the ultimate transition. Write your own fitness story. Write your own fitness success story this spring with the spring training. And then you could also say something like, once spring is over, it's kind of like spring could be any time of year. You know what I mean? Sure. Because it's like wherever you are, this can be the first day. Let this be the first day of spring that you look back on a year from now and say, wow, I'm so glad I got started. I mean, that's a cool angle.
Yeah. Could be a momentum story too, Jim. Because if you're starting 25 days out from spring, if you get started this far out from spring, you'll just have momentum going into the spring.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing with New Year's. Like I did a 45 days out from New Year's Day. type of thing, getting people started, a month in advance from New Year's, just to have some momentum going into January.
Well,
so,
and the interesting thing is, I was just thinking about when you talk about momentum or giving people a chance to gain momentum. Memorial Day is basically 90 days out. What's the 90 days is, I think, what, 12 weeks? 13 weeks is 90 days ish.
Yeah.
Okay. People massively overestimate what they can do in a week and massively underestimate what they can achieve in about a 12-week period if you really apply yourself. I mean, what's going through my mind is basically I've got, 60 workouts between 60 and 70 workouts between now and Memorial Day. I can get in shape for the Murph to at least do it and to get it done in under an hour. That's going to be my goal. I'm announcing that in front of everybody. Last year I did the Murph in 48 minutes. This year I'm just going to say at 55, I'm going to get it done in under an hour. I have to get it done in under my age. I'll say that. So I have to get it done actually in under 54 minutes.
I like that. That's a good little setup goal. And it gets easier every year.
Get an extra minute every year.
Because I tried that whole thing when I was like 28. I said, all right, I'm going to do 28 pull-ups right this year. I got 28, and I was like 29 and 30, right? And then I was all of a sudden I fell apart after like 33, and I was like, this isn't working anymore. Got to come up with a new goal.
Exactly. So these are great, man. I mean, I'm going to hang on to these because these
I just wrote them all down.
These are good. And the cool thing is that each one of these could be done as a hero's journey. Mm-hmm. It could be couched as a origin story. A lot of these could be an origin story, like the start of when something happened. Explanation storyline, pitch storyline, drama storyline. So, yeah. And the thing is, you could also couch every single one of these could be done as an angle for a testimony, or excuse me, a case study, testimonial. Because the customer story about breaking a barrier, about reaching a goal, about preparing, laying the groundwork, about getting momentum. So this is cool. This is some good whiteboard work today, Stu.
Nice work. Yeah, I'm thrilled. And you stated something that I can really work with. And I think we all can who are listening. You stated something like we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 week, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in 12 weeks.
Yes.
Really good statement there. I could definitely work with that because that goes along lines with building habits and lifestyle change and patience. All of those are very important, when you're on these type of journeys.
Well, when you think about, I mean, last time I weighed myself, I was up to 220 and I need to be around 195. That's when I'm happiest. I think that's part of the reason why I've been having joint pain and shoulder pain and other stuff.
Absolutely.
But if I focus on, man, I got to lose 25 pounds, it's not going to happen.
It's not fun.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to happen. But if I think about, I want to be 2 pounds lighter by the end of the week. 2 pounds a week is doable.
Oh, yeah.
And so over the next 12 weeks, I could be down 24 pounds without struggling or making myself nuts. But I need to start on it today. What do I need to do in order to do that? I need to just plain eat less. All right. Instead of 3 plates of food, try 1. I mean, I'm fat because I've been eating.
Portion control kills me. Yeah. Portion control is the hard part.
And then keep moving. The one thing I have been doing is keeping moving the whole time, though. So that's probably why I'm not up to 235.
Good point.
Anyway. Cool, man.
That was a good story. So anyway, these kind of like bring this back around, the goal of this is for me to be able to almost kind of count down this preview, launch of this book. So it's kind of,
Right.
it's not, this is a very great way to launch something too. I know we've done podcasts on launching products, but this just has a way of somebody seeing you. Put it this way. What I like about countdowns is when you throw a 25 days till spring, right? Write a little story about it. And then you throw a 24 days till spring, write a little story about it. 23, 22. People are going to accept, oh, I got an ad coming every single day for the next 25 days. And it's interesting. It's an interesting story, but they don't even look at it as an ad.
I don't think they look at it as an ad. They look at it, I've got some cool, valuable, fun, distracting content coming.
But in the end, it's 25 ads that are being allowed on social media.
It's not an ad. It's a valuable piece of content with an invitation to even more valuable content. You are providing value with the opportunity for extreme value on the other end. Stu.
I know you're giving me the mindset check that I need. But
plus, you don't want to say that in front of the people, okay? Don't clue
them in on what we're doing. It is what it is.
No, I'm just playing. No, that's awesome, man. That's good stuff. That was really good work. I like this. In fact, I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to rename this instead of it just being today's. We're going to call this Stu's Stories. Stu's Spring Training Stories. Because this is good. I like these. These are really cool as far as the those angles. I really like those. I got some new ones there. So
I got some good ideas for that hibernating bear story. That's gonna be.
Yeah, I think that's. And then I think next year, the story to write is okay. It might seem natural over the course of winter to put weight on, but what if you didn't this year? How would spring be different? Because it's like that would be a great story to tell, a preview story of what if you didn't put on that 20 pounds this winter? What if, what if? So
yeah, I'm all for it.
That would be a smart thing to do, because a lot of people do put on weight over the winter.
Just the way it works.
They're told that it's a natural thing, but I'm not sure it is a natural thing.
Yeah.
So
we actually used to do it in the Navy just because it got cold in the winter, and we put on some masks because we were diving or we were outside in the cold, and we just wanted to be able to stay warm longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd rip it up in the spring and summer and be a little more mobile. But yeah, it actually had a tactical value to it as well.
Yeah, well, at 50-something years old, I don't think there's a whole lot of tactical value to putting on 20 pounds of bass.
No, there is not. There is none. There's none. I just don't like buying new clothes. So, or if I do, they have to be the same size.
Yeah, and I've been putting on extra large stuff instead of large. So, yeah. All right. Well, is it time for the podcast?
It is, sir.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, Jim Edwards here, and welcome to today's episode of the Sales Copywriting and Content Marketing Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, along with my trusty co-host and podcast producer, Mr. Stu Smith. Welcome, Stu.
Thank you, Jim.
So how's your pickles, Stu? Doing all right?
All good, all good.
All right. You still enjoying my pickle juice, helping you with your cramps?
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff, good stuff.
I'm glad. Only the finest pickle juice for you.
All right. So, what are we talking about today, Stu?
Well, we are going to bring this around. We just got through talking about some preview stories. Let's talk about more stories, Jim.
Let's do it. Today is just story day.
Yeah, sales stories.
Sales
we're going to break
day.
down. I want to hear from the audience too. Some cool sales stories they had. Yeah, and we'll just break them down. Let's break down the best sales stories and what makes them effective.
Okay.
That's it. So what do you have for us, Jim? Tell us your best sales story.
My best sales story, well, the funny thing is that I don't have a best one. I have many memorable ones.
That's fine. Start off with a memorable one that comes first.
Well, the very first sales story I ever told, I told by accident. And I didn't realize that I had stumbled across the formula because I actually was in a training. I was speaking at a conference in Boulder, Colorado. One of the guys who was speaking there also was talking about one-page sales letters, and I had seen them before. Hell, I bought stuff from him before, but I didn't understand the pattern. I didn't understand. I thought it was some magical voodoo thing. And in about an hour and a half, he explained the basic parts of each one. And I said, holy crap, I need to do this, because I had a 40-page website that wasn't selling very well. It was selling. I mean, I had gotten it up to the point where it was doing about $600 a month, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't life-changing. It was like a money hobby. So I said, okay, I'm going to give up going to the bar tonight and hanging out with everybody. This was on the first day of the conference. And I said, I'm going back to the hotel room and I'm going to do what he said. So I took my 40-page website and I grabbed parts of it. I shit-canned a lot of it, and then assembled this sales letter. But one of the things that he said was, you need to tell a story. I'm like, dude, I mean, that was pretty much what he said. You need to tell a story. And I'm like, dude, what kind of story? Hickory dickory dock. I mean, what? So I said, okay, well, I'll just tell the story of how I came to write the book, which I ended up telling A Hero's Journey, because I told the story of how I didn't have just one house to sell. I had two houses to sell. I was selling a How to Sell Your House Yourself book. And I didn't have one house to sell. I had two houses to sell. I had just gotten married. I was trying to take a job out of state, but I had to get the houses sold. One of them, I couldn't pay a commission. The other one, I didn't want to pay a commission. And I basically had 30 days to get the whole thing done. So I told the story of my circumstances, the stuff that I tried that wasn't working, how I figured out what to do. And once I figured out what to do, I was able to sell not one, but both houses and close within 30 days and take the job in Florida, which actually turned out to be a complete and total disaster. But I left that part out. I was able to do what I wanted to do. And then I made the offer and had all the other stuff. So I admittedly, I had the parts, okay, but I didn't have the story. So I put this thing up, went to bed, and sales literally went up 250% overnight. And within a month, that website was consistently making enough money to cover a house payment, 2 car payments, and the electric bill. So it basically got up to about $1,500 a month. And $1,500 a month back in 2001 was enough to cover a house payment on a little house, 2 not very expensive cars, and the electric bill. So that story, telling that story on the sales letter, was the story that changed my life the most. And I just told you a story about a story, which is kind of cool. But it's absolutely 100% true, 110% true. I told the story about how my assistant, who's also my niece, who's one of my best friends, actually became my assistant because she went to one day of student teaching and was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to kill these children, and it's either I'll work for you or I'm going to jail. And so we created a course that was designed to not only train her, even though she already knew the stuff already, but it was also so we could make the money, to have the money in the bank to pay her for a year. Because I'd never had an employee before. So we used the story of her to sell a course, Mini Site Creator, which I'm sure some of you actually have heard of, that went on to sell millions of dollars and enabled us to really grow the company. So it's just funny how all of the cool things that have happened, there's a story that's at the nucleus of the whole thing. So anyway, that's just a couple examples from me. How about you, Stu? Got any good stories?
Well, I have a couple of different ones, and I think having a sales story that was productive and profitable is a really, obviously you have to have those in your business. Otherwise, you're not going to have a business. But there are also stories where you can tell how you found your calling, right? And it's not necessarily about you making all this money. It's about the feeling you have for helping someone and getting feedback from people about how you change their life. And, I'm no longer on diabetic medicine anymore. All these different things, from heart pressure, blood pressure medicine, and, just so many things that are just make your decision to go into this entrepreneurial space mean more to you than money, right? It actually means something to you. It goes so deep. Like, I have found my calling. This is why I do this. It helps you establish your why. And then from there, you don't care what anybody thinks anymore. You have all this feedback that is just propping you up to move forward into areas that you may not have felt comfortable going into before. My story was, I was still in the Navy, thinking about getting out of the Navy, and this priest came up to me who was 80 pounds overweight. He was 52 years old, and he wanted to join the Navy and be a Navy chaplain. And this just happened to be my last year in the Navy, and I trained that guy every single day. And it was just also the same year that I became Catholic. So we had this little balancing act.
Like a trade?
Yeah, it was a trade. I was becoming Catholic, and he was getting in shape. And a year later, he loses 80 pounds, gets in condition enough to pass the Navy fitness test, and he spends the next 12 years in the Navy as a chaplain. And everybody loves him, and everybody loves Stu, and Father Hogue, and he's my Father Hogue story. And it was just a lot of fun to share that story with my transition out of the Navy into the world of fitness. And it has helped a lot of beginners, not necessarily my prime market, because one thing I learned early in this profession is that unfit people don't buy fitness books.
Right.
Fit people buy dozens.
Yeah.
Like a whole bookshelf full of fitness books.
Right.
But it just enabled me to reach a segment of the population that needed it the most. And that's where I get most of my joy from. I'd much rather see somebody lose 80 pounds and change their life versus somebody get 20 pull-ups go from 10 to 20. Right.
You mean you weren't excited when I called you and told you I'd done 35 pull-ups in a row when we met? I could only do 7.
I was very excited for you, but some things hit a lot deeper.
Right, and what you've hit is what I call an identity story, where that story is at the core of who you are. That story supports who you think you are. It does. So we tell stories about ourselves. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. Some people, you tell a story, oh, I'm fat, I'm slow, I'm old, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm poor, a lot of people tell stories that they have to live. When you tell yourself that story, you're living that story. I've seen people who have identity stories that they say basically, I'm a struggling entrepreneur. They're so rooted in that story of the struggle that they always struggle. And some stories are great to hang on to. Other stories you need to let go of. You need to allow yourself to grow. It's like your life is a never-ending story until the day you take the dirt nap, and then hopefully your story gets told in heaven for all eternity. So that's what you're talking about there, is an identity story.
Sure.
Which it's not about this is not how I make money, this is who I am. But typically, from the type of identity story that you're talking about, it's an infinite source of money.
Sure.
Because it becomes the source of your value to the world. That's an L. That's where your value comes from. Your value for yourself, that's where you see the value in you. That's where other people have that value reflected back to you. But you got to be careful with these, because if it's negative, it can hold you back. You also got to give yourself the opportunity to grow and to evolve. We talk a lot about evolution. If you look at, though, that story of the Father Hogue story, that could easily have turned into a story of, hey, my calling is to be a personal trainer. And you'd be some meathead working at a gym because you were like, I change people's lives one at a time by working with them directly. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not who you were meant to be. So how you interpret that story, you got to be careful.
Sure.
So, if you look at me, I was for years, first I was the loan guy, then I was the real estate guy, then I was the for sale by owner guy, then I was the ebook guy, then I was the multimedia guy, then I was the mini site guy, then I was the webinar guy. No, really.
Yeah.
Then I was the membership site guy. Now,
software guy.
The software guy. But here's the thing. What happened in all of these, the one common denominator that I was developing over this 25, 30-year progression was one word, and it starts with S. Sales. Learning how to sell. Figuring out how to sell. Figuring out how to market. And the interesting thing was, what is now debatably my biggest superpower was at one time my Achilles heel and my complete weakness, was like my total weakness. So then the calling is, man, because it was such a weakness, and I'm so empathetic towards others who have a message to share, who want to impact the world, but who suffer with this, my calling turned into copywriting and content marketing. And my copywriting book, which I never intended to ever write, is not the thing that I've sold the most copies of, because the most copies of anything I've ever sold is 7-day ebook. But this is a damn close second. And I sold more of this faster than I sold of that. So it's just interesting. So now the story that I tell myself about me is I help entrepreneurs and professionals with a message to share, to find their voice, and to be able to write copy and create content that gets people to buy, try, click, and sign up. So I help people that don't know how to sell discover how to sell. That's what I do. That's my Father Hogue story. And the thing is, what happens is, thank you, Matt. Matt says, damn good book. Appreciate that. But what happens is with this identity story, if it truly is your identity, is that it'll get reinforced a lot by you, because you're like, hey, I'm making it happen. This is what it's working. And by others. Other people will say, you know what? You really helped me. I had a guy tell me and because it's a part of who you are, you'll hopefully still be humble about it. And sometimes you'll even take it for granted, which you shouldn't, because that cheats people. But I had a guy tell me on a webinar, he says, you don't know me, but you changed my life. You allowed me from going from being basically homeless to making $1.8 million and being able to buy my dream house and live the ultimate lifestyle for me. And he said, you did it with your book and you did it with funnel scripts. Nice. And I'm like, holy crap. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many people have come up and told me, you know, you changed my life. And I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, that's when you know that you found your story, that you are doing what you're supposed to do, when that story is totally congruent. But you got to be careful that the story that you're telling doesn't hold you back.
True.
So I see that a lot.
Yeah, it's weird how your origin story, your identity story, and your sales story can definitely be a story of evolution. And it's pretty powerful when you can actually continue to move that. But for me, my story kind of gives me my why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for me personally.
Sure.
Right? And for me to understand that, but also communicate that in a way that people also can find their why in this process is like I think is the thing that I'm trying to sell, if that makes sense.
Well, in the end, what we're selling is ourselves. Like Deanna said, who I became is my sales story. Ultimately, all we have to sell is ourselves. There are lots of trainers in the world. You're not the first person that ever wrote a book on how to get in shape for the military. You're not the first Navy SEAL who, decided to coach people on fitness. I'm not the first person ever to do what I'm doing. But what resonates with people is our story, our journey. Because our story, our journey, that is who we are. And our stories can't be hacked. Our stories can't be copied. They can be copied, but our stories create our unique perspective. So, your why is tied up in the whole thing. Of course it is. I mean, why? And the thing is, though, I know from you, your why has evolved as your who has evolved.
Oh, sure.
So again, but if you were locked into this story that I help young guys go to SEAL training, that's my whole deal. That's all I do.
Yeah, that's limiting.
That's limiting yourself. But then when you're like, my identity is helping people like Father Hogue, helping people like Jim, helping people like Sue. So helping people who are in all these, I want to be in the FBI. I want to do this. I want to do that. So then it evolves to I help people who need fitness for their livelihood is really what that turned into.
Yeah.
So, somebody asked what example of a story holding you back. That was a story that would have held you back if that's the story you're telling yourself. I've seen people telling stories about themselves. I don't want to mention names and I don't want to give too many details because it's, if you're always the guy who overcame bankruptcy, then you're always the guy who overcame bankruptcy. It's like you're locked in time, just repeating that story over and over in order to keep that identity. And so what you want to do is be the best version of who you are right now. So the story is going to continually evolve. Your current identity story is going to evolve. You can still share past stories to make sales points or to explain stuff. But what we're talking about here with an identity story is something that is going to change and evolve and make you who you are now. You don't want to stay locked in time. I mean, it's one of the things Stu stresses all the time is that if you're not evolving, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not evolving, you're stagnant. And so as you evolve, your story's going to evolve. And it's going to get cooler. It's kind of like movies now, dude. Remember the crappy special effects when we were kids? Like what was that type?
Any explosion
right.
was a crappy explosion.
Or like, what was it? Clash of the Titans. Remember Clash of the Titans with the Kraken,
And like clay figures moving around.
Exactly. Versus special effects now that like special effects are so good now that their wars apparently are going to get started over deep fake videos. Your story can only get cooler. That's the neat thing is that your story can just get cooler. If something bad happens to you, you know what? That's just part of the plot line. Just think about how cool it's going to be when I can talk about how I overcame this. That's the way I look at it. It's just a bump in the road, but your story is continually evolving. But you got to stay true to your principles and other stuff like that.
So, Jim, I know we said we were going to talk about a sales story. And I took a little detour a little bit there with that.
But that's the ultimate sales story, dude. It's right. The ultimate way to sell yourself is to share your story. And the people who resonate with your story are going to be like, that's the dude. Sorry, I got to point at the right camera. That's the dude that I want to follow. That's the lady I want to be my mastermind mentor. That's the person I want to help me because their story really resonates with me. It's the ultimate sales story.
Love it. Thank you. Well, that's my best sales story.
Nice. That's
I probably get more people telling me like, "Hey, I just read that Father Hogue piece and great job, we talk about being Catholic. We talk about fitness. It's a combination of both almost. And more so than the one of me, like being on the struggle bus when I became a first year midshipman, which by the way, that hero's journey continued to turn into more like a roller coaster hero journey. That's something we can talk about next. How the hero's journey, it comes up, but you know what life does to you? Brings you back down again and brings you back up and brings you back down and brings you back up.
Oh, yeah.
So the roller coaster hero's journey is, because I had 4 years of the hero's journey going up and down, when I was going through that place. So, and it never stopped.
Called college.
Never stopped. Yeah, never stopped after that. Life has a way of making you have to create your hero's journey every time, which is a great story. We all have them.
Yeah, but you know what? Do you ever sit around like with people like Alden or somebody like that, if he ever calls you back, that do you talk about, oh man, remember when we like made a bunch of money and everything went great and all our bills were paid and everything was amazing and we were in great health and had no aches and pains and just, I paid my house off and all. No, you don't. That's not a good story. I think about when Susan and I just did Tough Ruck. I thought about this yesterday when I was running down the same road, and that one little stretch of gravel when our feet were on fire and we were finishing up the 26 miles, and then we're like, why do we have to do 0.2 more miles? Jesus, will it ever be done? That's the stuff that you want to talk about. That's the stuff that makes a story great. That's the thing that pulls people together and creates the camaraderie. It's not the shared success, it's the shared suffering on the road to success. And normally when you found success, you take a little bit of a break, like a little break. And you say something stupid like never again, not doing that again, none of that. And within 2 weeks, your buddy's like, hey, man, Tough Ruck's coming up again. No! You want to, hey, I really think that I want to build an obstacle course in the woods behind my house. You want to come help me? Yeah, that'd be fun, man. And we can do this and and you start torturing yourself again. Why? Because it's through the achievement of the suffering. It's the only way to find peace is on the other side of suffering. If there's no suffering, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, okay, think about this. Last week, I took my wife to Rosie's on Saturday, which is a casino. And I won like $600. Well, I won a lot more than $600, but I pumped a lot more of it in. Every time I win at the slot machines, I think I used to. And so, but it's like, yeah, I was happy for a couple of minutes, but then it's like, yeah, okay, I got $500 extra in my wallet. I got nothing to spend it on. I mean, it's not the fun thing to talk about. But on the other hand, you also don't want to get to the point where I actually had somebody say to me one time, he said, I don't think I'm ever going to get rich. And I said, well, why do you think that? And he said, because I've never been bankrupt. I'm like, what the hell are you even talking about, dude? He said, well, all these guys that I've seen that are really, really wealthy all went bankrupt at least once. And I said, they went bankrupt because they took a chance. And the way to have good judgment is to have bad judgment. And the way to get really good judgment is to have really bad judgment. And that's what I did. I mean, you have a little bit of success. You think your poop doesn't stink. You go do stupid stuff. And then you end up paying for it for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then it's like, wow, really learned that lesson. Never going to do that one again. And Earl Nightingale said, once you've learned, once you've solved one set of problems, you've earned the right to solve some more. And the only people on earth with no problems are in the graveyard. So it's however we're wired from caveman days. We love talking about killing and fighting the saber-toothed tiger, not about the fact that, flowers are pretty.
Jim, it's funny you bring this up, kind of this shared suffering on the road to success, as Anna says, because I had an epiphany yesterday when I was running.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so on Monday, it was kind of crappy, below freezing, some ice where we train, and we were doing leg day, and I was bringing out the squat rack and deadlift and all that stuff. And we've been training outdoors for 2 years. Because of COVID issues, we couldn't fit as many people in the gym. So we just said, screw it, we're going to be outdoors. And now that things are kind of relaxing, I have this indoor option I can always throw to the guys. And I said, hey, it's ice over there where we do squats. So why don't we just come over here and we'll go indoors. So we did this great indoor workout, but I could tell something was missing. Like all the guys felt like they were cheating.
Yeah.
Right. They felt like for some reason this is too easy. Right. There wasn't enough grit in this workout. And I realized while I was running the day after, trying to think about what this all was. And I said, we have gotten uncomfortable being comfortable. Right? We just flip that whole saying around as like mental toughness is being comfortable when you're
being uncomfortable. Yeah.
But we've taken it to the next level of we are now uncomfortable when we're comfortable.
You feel guilty.
What does that mean? Right? So I'm debating. Yeah, this has got a back burner project going on back there, but that was just one of the things that, like you said, it's this struggle, just kind of keeps us moving forward. And somehow when we're not struggling, we're going to find the next go ruck. We're going to find the next challenge, right? It's just this natural tendency to want to push yourself in that direction. Anyway, that's kind of where I wanted to.
That's kind of cool. I would be curious. I know that you have an uncommonly high success rate for your guys versus the average person going through any of that training. I would be curious to see if the people you've been training over the last 2 years have an even higher success rate because they are so comfortable being uncomfortable. I'd just be curious to see.
I don't know. It's
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Just a thought.
I like
Interesting
it.
Story.
I need to get more comfortable being uncomfortable because I got too comfortable being comfortable for the last few months. And
sometimes that happens too.
But the thing is, that's also was lack of strategy because but that's a different story. Hey, now that's a great way to end, but that's a different story for another time. So great job today, Stu. This was really good. This was fun. It's a good setup for the Sales Story Masterclass that we're doing this afternoon live at 1 o'clock. Those of you who are with us live, head on over to salesstorymasterclass.com. You can still sign up to be with us at 1 o'clock. I'm going to spend the entire afternoon teaching about story, teaching you about hooks, teaching you about the best stories to tell, the actual frameworks. I'm going to teach you how to tell the story by answering 11 questions. Demo some really cool tools that y'all can use and make you a special offer on them too. So well done, everybody. And we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.